Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the September 20th, 2023 Norwood Airport Commission meeting. A couple of things. Please put your phones on silent so there's no unnecessary interruptions. NCM is recording this meeting. Is there any other entity recording this meeting?
Here, Matt McDonald, Lower Record.
Mark, are you recording?
Try to be on the phone.
Christopher Dawson Jr., Boston Executive Operations.
Okay.
Emily said she can use the,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. So just everyone, just speak up so the mic can pick you up. And then when we do get to the audience, make sure you state your name clearly and where you represent or your address. So Matt, I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Matt McDonald, Norwood Record.
Chris?
Christopher Dawson Jr., Boston Executive Operations.
Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda, we have an AIP project update with Du Bois and King.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mark Goodrich with Du Bois and King. We are currently wrapping up the realignment of Taxiway Charlie project to be redesignated Taxiway Bravo. On the airfield side, that project is near completion. The only thing we haven't done thus far is realign the power from the PAPI to the AWAS. We're just awaiting a part that's on back order. The remainder of that work should be done in about 3 weeks.
I'll put,
In the parking lot, we've almost got the last of the binder, and that may go in tomorrow, weather pending. To be followed by installation of the EV powering stations and ultimately the wearing course and pavement markings. So we're hoping to have that wrapped up first week of October. As of this morning, we had a kickoff meeting, a pre-construction meeting on the next project, which we anticipate would start hopefully the first week of October. That's the reconstruction of runway 1028. The eastern 3,300 feet is going to be reconstructed, partially reconstructed, along with a little bit of work on the stub taxiways. We're trying to work with the contractor to get a schedule. Right now they're working with their subcontractors, in particular the paving subcontractor, to see if they can be available to pave sometime around Thanksgiving. So as soon as we receive the schedule, we'll communicate that to the airport. Are there any questions on the current project or the future project?
So we'll start with the future project, 1028 reconstruction. And so once that starts, that runway would be closed?
The runway will be closed for the duration of the project.
Okay.
And how many construction days was that?
120 construction days.
So the Winfield people will get a nice little break there.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
And it,
When does it start?
excuse me,
I couldn't hear when it was starting.
when does it start?
The anticipated start is the beginning of October, but we haven't received officially a schedule from the contractor.
Okay. And the number of days, so this work could go on and then stop for the winter and then pick up in
Well,
the spring, or?
the runway will be closed for the duration of the project, so we'd like to make sure that we can complete the project
So your goal is to start in October and complete it?
by Thanksgiving.
Okay.
If we can't, then we'll start in the spring. So we don't want to leave the airport without a runway for the winter.
So when you say you can't, if the contractor says, I can't make it happen starting October 1st, we'll push it off to the spring.
That is the likely scenario.
Correct.
Yep.
And, okay, based on the weather we're having, that's,
We've had very wet weather. The last contractor did struggle with that with dewatering. I don't think that'll be an issue on this project. It's only a partial depth reconstruction. We're not going down into the water table in this case.
okay. Okay. And on the current project, the taxiway, future taxiway B,
Yep.
Mark, did that require the closure of 1028 periodically?
Yes.
It did, so So the past few months, 10-28 has not been used because of the construction.
Not as much, no. We
Right.
had it shut down quite a bit.
Right, okay, okay. All right. Good. Anything else for Mark while he's here?
Nope, thank you, Mark.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Mark. You're going to stick around for a bit. We've got a couple of payments to take care of in case anyone has any questions for Mark. First, it's payment application number 5. This is for the reconstruction and relocation of taxiway C in the amount of $937,775.92. 90% of it is paid by the FAA, 10% is paid by Mass DOT, thank you, and there is no cost to the town. Is there a motion to pay payment voucher number 5 for $937,775.92?
So moved.
Motion is made
Second?
and seconded. Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan votes yes. Again, this is another payment voucher. This is number 6 for reconstruction, relocation of taxiway C in the amount of $2,501,060.78. 90% paid by the FAA, 10% by Mass DOT, $0 for the town of Norwood. Is there a motion for payment voucher number 6?
So moved.
Motion has been made
Second?
and seconded. Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan votes yes. This is payment voucher number 1. This is for the reconstruction of 10-8 in the amount of $166,097.37. And this is 90% FAA and 10% Town of Norwood. Is there a motion to pay payment voucher number 1 for runway 10-8?
So moved.
Motion made
Second?
and seconded. Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan votes yes. Thank you. Next up, the minutes of the July 19th, 2023 regular business meeting. And I will say, Mr. Sheehan could not attend that, correct? But I will vouch that everything in here is correct as written.
Did review the minutes. So if John wants to make the motion, I'll second it.
On motion.
Yeah, motion to approve the minutes as they are.
Thank you. Motion has been made
Second?
and seconded. Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan votes yes. Okay, let's see. We have some old business. We have aircraft overflights in the Winfield Street, Rock Street neighborhood. Does anyone want to type?
Well, thanks for the construction update on 1020.
Let them know who you are.
Oh, Diane was in Winfield Street, Norwood.
And we say that because the recording secretary can use that and put it in the minutes,
Sure.
okay?
I get it. Well, thanks for the construction update. We understand why the summer was very quiet. So that was very helpful. However, on Sunday, 120 plane overflights, 120. Monday, 60. We've been through 8 meetings, this is our 9th, so there really shouldn't have been a reason for so many flights despite what's going on with construction. So I know that maybe you were out because I filed 2 complaints on behalf of the neighborhood. Mark, did you get those?
Yes, I did.
Okay, because I didn't see them posted.
I haven't had time to post them
Okay.
yet. I apologize.
Well, no, you're really good. I know it'll be posted, but I just want to make sure you got them. So, if construction doesn't start until October 1st or so, are we going to have more 120, 60 overflights? The pilots know they shouldn't be flying over our neighborhood. It's so excessive.
So I will say, and we've gone over this a number of times, the use of the runway is dictated by the wind. We all know that. Okay? For safe and efficient operation, pilots take off against the wind. All right? And we've gone over that. We've hosted a business meeting with the tenants that you were able to attend. We've distributed noise abatement procedure inserts, again, to the users here. Again, this is a suggestion, the noise abatement. They're not required by that, especially with, it's only in VFR.
VFR aircraft.
That's right. So the pilots use the runway as directed, as dictated by the wind, and to operate safely and efficiently. Okay, so we can't control that. We can't control how many planes take off during the day. There's a public use airport. It's been here since 1946. We've gone over this. We're doing our best to stay in contact with the users here. I think they've been pretty good, receptive to it, Mark, right? They've, but there's some cases they just can't. And I'm sure Sunday was very busy because the prior 2 days was the weather with the Hurricane Lee out in the Atlantic Ocean probably prohibited a lot of people from flying. So I guess we're not surprised there was a lot of action on Sunday and Monday based on that event. And, you know, it just happened to be the direction of the wind dictated that they had to fly over that area. So I don't know if anyone else has any thoughts on that before I open it up to the audience, but we're doing our best to work with the pilots. I think they're receptive. This airport's been here since 1946. Nothing has changed as far as usage here, other than it's gone down dramatically over the years. All right, and 35% of aircraft use 1028 during a given year. That's historic records.
And it's a day VFR only
Yeah.
runway.
Right.
So they can only use it during the day.
Correct. Thank you, John. So, yep,
Yes, Catherine Boland, Winfield Street resident.
thank you.
As you guys know, Lindsay from the FAA I had reached out to, and she had responded to some of our concerns. And one was, who's got control over all the flights, you know, how many flights there are and stuff. And she did let us know, and I'll read for the group. Airports establish and have the discretion of adjusting their flight patterns for pilots to safely execute takeoffs, landing, and in the case of multiple takeoff and landings by individual aircraft. So the control is here in Norwood from what FAA is telling us. So we're just saying, you know, is it reasonable that we should, you know, that you allow 150 planes come out on Sunday? I mean, 120 flights come due on Sunday. Is that reasonable when it's coming from one, you know, location and stuff? I don't think it's reasonable. You know, I don't want to, you know, not be able to have a conversation with someone because there's so many planes flying over. I was up by Railroad Ave, the old Stop and Shop area the other day, and there was one very close, you know, very low, flying over there, and I could hear it. So I'm sure there's other areas in Norway, but it's got to be reasonable. We're trying to work with you guys, and, you know, you guys have the control over this from what FAA has told us. Is that not correct?
When they,
That's, go ahead, John,
if
please.
I may, when they talk about control, they want, that's the noise abatement, and it's only a suggestion. Noise abatement is only a suggestion. We can only suggest that they take these alternate routes, and it's up to the pilot in command of the aircraft, who
But
ultimately.
does Norwood not have any control or any responsibility to control how many planes are going in and out and stuff and circling around and stuff? I mean, I
We-
would think that we'd have some
We are
control.
24/7, 365 days a year, 366 on leap year. So anyone who wants to use this airport can use this airport so long as their aircraft that they're operating in this airspace is Norwood Airport can handle it. You can't land the 747 here, but you can bring jets in, you can bring helicopters in, you can bring all kinds of experimental aircraft in. we don't have a say in who comes and who goes at all.
No volume, you don't have any control over the volume or anything?
And that's controlling interstate commerce, and we cannot. And I think what the FAA was trying to say was that we can come up with, it's called noise abatement, where we're trying to abate the aircraft from flying over a certain area. And again, it's only a suggestion. The pilot in command has ultimate authority over the aircraft, unless he's in on an instrument flight plan. Then if they tell him to fly, take off on runway 28 and fly heading 280, they take off and they fly runway 280. So they fly heading 280, which will bring them right over Winfield Street. So some of the bigger aircraft, that's what happens. They all fly. A lot of the corporate aircraft all fly on IFR flight plans.
What I think what you're saying is that Norwood does not have any control over the volume of planes that fly out of here, given a certain time period, a day, an hour.
As far as time, no. It's like John said, it's 24 hours a day. This facility is open. But our attorney, Mina Macarius, Mina, you had something to offer?
Really only to confirm what was just said by John. I just want to be very clear about that. This is not a matter that FAA allows airports of any size, whether it's Logan or Norwood, to control. Since 1992, there has been in place an act of Congress that allows FAA to, in some circumstances, for safety reasons, allow some flight rules on the local level. In the 30 years that FAA has had that in place, it has approved exactly 0 such flight rules. It is a violation of towns grant assurances to try to restrict what kind of aircraft land and run. So, and the short answer is, I don't lack sympathy for the frustration that there is really no local control, but the number of aircraft, when they land, how they land, where they fly over, all of that is controlled at the federal level. Neither the state or local government have any say in that as a matter of federal law. It's entirely preempted by federal legislation in the FAA's control.
So what Mina is saying, and John said it, and I think I said it, is we can't restrict the use of this airport. It's a public use airport. We're committed, when the town took it over in 1946, to allow it to be a public use airport. We do have certain rules that we can put in, but we can't restrict the number of aircraft coming in and out. The hours of operation, you cannot do that. So in a sense, our hands are a little bit tied, but I mean, we have an obligation to keep this open. We also have an obligation to the surrounding neighborhood, and that's why we're trying to work with the pilots on here. And Mark, you'll continue reaching out, making maybe a more frequent reach out just to remind them would be helpful. I think.
Getting to Catherine Boland. Do we have a sense of where that 120 planes, where it was all coming from? Was it all students, training things? Was it, where's the volume coming from? And can we expect, that's going to pick up again and do that again? Or, it just doesn't seem reasonable that we have no expectations. We can't, expect to have a quiet day at our house,
Well, I think it was one of those perfect storms where we've been used to not having much aircraft flying over there because of the construction, and then everything opens up, and it's right after an event where people are itching to use their aircraft, and the winds have dictated that it goes over 1028. I think it was just a perfect storm.
Should we expect that every Sunday to have that large volume, or every Saturday or whatever day it was? Sundays, to have that?
Right.
We have to have some kind of, there has to be a give and take here, and given some reasonable expectations. I'll reach out to Lindsay again and ask her to attend this next meeting that we have, because I feel like they're saying it's Norwood Airport has the power, And then I'm hearing that Norwood Airport doesn't have the power, so it's very frustrating. And, you know, I'm sorry if that's coming off negative, but it's just,
Yeah.
I feel like we have no power whatsoever, and I'm not getting any answer, or at least I'm not getting the answer I want to hear from you guys, if there is some way to control it or at least anticipate it.
Like I said, it's, airport operations have gone down over the years, a
So
lot.
you say, but
Well, they have.
it doesn't feel that way to me.
They have, and they also, it's typically 35% use that runway. The other 65% are taken off 1735,
So
so.
for Sunday, all of those planes, do we have a sense of where they came from? Were they the students, you know, are we picking up more business and having more students flying around, and that's why it was as noisy as it was and up and down? Or was it just all different kinds of aircraft?
Yeah, I don't know if we have that ability, Mark, with the tower, you know.
I don't
We
think
should be able to get those
they don't record, you know, they record the traffic count.
Yeah,
They don't
not the business.
necessarily
They
record the
record
type of
operations.
airplanes.
Operations.
Yeah.
The takeoff and a landing is one operation. Actually, it's two operations.
They don't identify what type of operations it is, large or small
No,
or private?
they have a list of
I'd be surprised.
takeoff, landing, touch and go, stop and go, the option. There's like 6 different.
But somewhere they must record, you know, where it's coming from, because at some point, if there's a complaint, they'd want to track it back to wherever that aircraft or whatever that was. So I would imagine, I mean, I worked in business for a long time, and it just would, you know, be very surprising that they're not able to track down. you
So,
know,
again, and
operations.
we've mentioned this in the past. I know I mentioned it in the meeting that we had. Part of the job of the airport commission is to protect the airport itself from people building buildings that enter into our
Airspace.
approach spaces, and we control the runways, taxiways, buildings, fuel farms. The fuel farms are privately owned, but you know they have to conform to rules and regulations. The FAA we control the airport, they control this airspace around it. We can close the runway. They can't close the runway, only Mark can close the airport. The air traffic control controls the airspace around and above the airport, up to, I believe Norwood is 2,500 feet, if my memory serves me correct. 24, 25, I think 26, 2,600, it's right around there. Then each airport has its own restricted space above it. So, I understand what you want us to do, but we can't do it. The FAA controls the airspace around the airport.
I'd be very interested in meeting with the operations team to see what kind of stats, what kind of information they have. Because it's very hard for us to tolerate this and not, for me anyway, not have a full understanding of what's going on.
And I believe that you've met with them several times, and the Harry West. So we've met with him several times. He was at our meeting. He was at several of the airport commission meetings. And we talked about that perfect storm when it's rainy for 3 days and it's going to be a beehive that next day. Because just like Mark said, these people are trying to finish up their ratings. They're trying to stay on track to get their licenses. Their winter's coming. You guys get a nice little break over the winter. So unless you have a really nice day in the winter, may have 1 or 2 days during the winter where it's a beehive as well. You know, if it's 40, 50, 60
But
degrees
one or
up.
two is one thing, but this seems like it's, you know, picking up again, like it's getting ridiculous. You know, but,
And again, that was one day you're talking about, that
well, the
Sunday.
next day, there was over, what, Tuesday later, there was 60 of them, at least 6, yeah.
Well, that's, again, so that's a
So
work
pray for
day.
rain?
Tuesdays, no,
Pray for rain
Tuesdays,
dance?
no rain dances. Tuesday is a work day, so a lot of the guys who own private airplanes aren't really here flying, they're at work. A lot of the people that are taking flying lessons are at work. that's their main thing is they're going to Bridgewater State, and they're trying to get the private license, or trying to get a license or a rating before the winter season comes, because the winter season is very, very difficult to fly in New England.
No, I do understand that, but it just, I mean, I don't think it's reasonable to, to have that many flights going over one section of the town, going over the section of town. It's just very disruptive. People can't enjoy their home.
Many amount of 80 all over the street. I just want to know, I know the wind, keep on saying the wind. The jets seem to, the large aircraft, the jets, and I call them Sky King airplane, they fly right over my house. I mean, it's like maybe 400 feet above, I have no idea. But why does the jets come right over my house and they land right over?
Mhm.
Why? I mean, I know the wind, but why can't they, there's a jet, was it the fuel that they use? They're afraid to use that much fuel, take a right turn or whatever. They seem to be coming right over they are coming right over my house.
Yeah. So,
Airplanes take off and land into the wind because
Yeah,
it
but
increases
I
the
understand
performance.
that. I mean,
It's for
but
safety.
We're talking about a mile.
but a jet's not going to follow the noise abatement.
No, so
process.
they're required, so a jet is required to have a stabilized approach from miles out. They come in on a stabilized approach, and whereas a small airplane can turn from base to final like that.
So there's more jets taking off.
Downwind, from downwind to final.
So
A jet has to come in straight in from a longer distance because they're required to have
Oh, yeah, I
what's
can
called a
hear 'em.
stabilized approach. And did you notice when those airplanes are landing, they're very, very quiet? When they're taking off,
They're not very.
but they also do reduced power takeoffs. So what they're doing is they're flying not a full power takeoff, it's a reduced power takeoff for noise abatement. And I've seen them turn out. I live in Norwood, and driving down Route 1, I've seen as soon as they take off, they turn out. And those are the ones that are based here. Now again, we have all kinds of companies that fly into Norwood Airport. A lot of places use Norwood Airport, and pilots that aren't familiar with our noise abatement, they see the signs there at the end of the runway, but they don't follow the noise abatement because again, it's suggested by the airport.
Are there more jets landing, taking off here from in the last year?
I wouldn't say there's more.
About the same.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah.
steady.
I know there was 3 Sunday.
That could be a Patriots game.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
this is probably exactly what was the Patriots game.
You'll see a lot of corporate aircraft come in on a Patriots game.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
All right. Hi.
Yeah, a question too. Nick Costello, I'm on the Rock Street side of that neighborhood.
Mhm.
2 things. One, I assume the flight schools run every weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
I'm sorry.
Does that keep the numbers up? The flight schools.
What about
Do they run full days on Saturday and Sunday?
Yeah, 7 days a week.
So we
7 days a
probably see
week.
them more anyway?
And I don't think they're a full schedule. I think what happens when you have a beautiful day like that, a lot of guys come down and they their personal airplanes. A lot of guys come in and they want to pick up a flight because they get rained out 3 days in a row. And I've said that all along. When we have a couple, 2-3 days, I mean, the guys have to get their flight time in. So it's going to be a beehive for the next couple days after that. Everyone playing catch up.
Okay, to kind of go with that, it seems like, at least in our neighborhood, I don't think we were at this meeting last month because things are moving a lot.
No, August,
Is that
August,
right?
there was no meeting.
Otherwise, that's
July,
what it was
things-
gonna be.
June and July, things were very good.
Like the last, I would say the last month and a half anyway, I've noticed quite an uptake in takeoffs of the neighborhood on weekends. It's like the pilots just, you get to a weekend, you want to get out and fly, you just, as far as the takeoffs go especially, they seem to just be doing their own thing. And they don't seem to be caring about the be nice for the neighbors stuff.
Now, Mark, you're going to reach out to the users here for us once again? Thank you.
The weekdays seem more controlled. I know there's exceptional days, but
Yeah, it's not unexpected the weekend, people
some
coming
of the-
down. And,
Some of those jets don't necessarily turn. I think you're right about they're heading out and going up Route 1, but a lot of times they don't. We've had a few rattles the last few weeks. I complained about one last month, and there was one yesterday morning that was right.
but the jets don't turn, right, John?
Some do, some don't. It depends on.
For the most part, they don't.
They don't. But there are some jets that are based here, and they don't. And they know, and they turn as soon as they can. Now,
As they can.
Wakefield Street, Rock Street, you guys are pretty close to the airport, but
No.
no. Mike lives right in the approach of runway 35. He gets it all the time too. So it's and he gets 65%. You get 35%. If we had a way of making it equitable, I'm sure that we'd be able to work something out. But these small planes have to take off and land into the wind because it increases the performance, and it all boils down to safe and efficient operations of the airport, which we're required to as the airport commission to make sure that there's safe and efficient operations of the airport.
I wonder how much, the Catherine Bowen from Plainfield Street, I just wonder how much is too much on the flights. You know, if we have all of these schools start having more, you know, students and stuff, and they start flying out, is it just gonna be one right after another, and it's all acceptable? Isn't there something that's reasonable? You know, I'm expecting how many flights can go out during certain hours and stuff. I mean, I understand that there's, you know, emergencies and other things that are gonna happen, the Patriots or whatever. I understand that, but, I know, but it's just not reasonable, I think, for me anyway, not reasonable to think that we're gonna have another day with over 100 flights coming over. And it's because, you know, we had some good weather. It's.
Another issue that is out there is, you know, there's a pilot shortage right now.
What a shame.
Airlines last summer canceled thousands and thousands of flights because they didn't have enough flight crews to man these flights. We have to get these young pilots from somewhere.
Well, we can share the wealth with other vehicles.
I think every airport's facing this.
Yeah, I think I mean, it is a problem.
Yeah.
But
I just would be interested in knowing what is the volume, you know, I mean, is it, you know, 80% of, you know, new students, you know, I don't know.
I don't think we have
Yeah.
any way of figuring out where that would be, how to even quantify that.
Is there someone I could talk to and see if there's a way to get some of those stats and stuff? It just, I mean, if I understand where it's coming from, then I would be more reasonable, you know, I would back down a little bit, but I just think that the airport must know where all this volume's coming from and what's kind of expected and stuff. And are we just gonna keep letting everybody, you know, fly out of here and just have one right on top of another and too bad about the town, too bad about the neighbors? Because it comes to a point where it is disruptive. If that happens so many days in a row.
So Mark's gonna reach out to the tower, see if there's any breakdown that they have. But the bottom line is, we can't control how many flights go out of here. All right, we can just keep talking to the pilots,
Yeah.
okay?
The FAA is telling us differently, so
Yeah.
we'll check that out.
Okay,
If we can have them invited to the next meeting, I know they can't show up in person, but they have asked to be put on a call like their lawyer there, that would be great.
okay. Anyone else? You have some correspondence?
Motion to place the correspondence on file.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Mr. Corcoran?
Yes.
Mr. Ryan votes yes. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into executive session. Purpose 3 for executive session, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the litigating position of the Norwood Airport Commission versus Boston Executive Helicopter.
So moved.
Motion made.
Second.
And second. Mr. Sheehan?
And we'll be adjourning
Oh, thank
from
you.
both sessions after that meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan.
Yes, vote yes.
Motion has been
Second.
made, seconded. Mr. Sheehan?
Yes.
Ms. Corcoran? Mr. Ryan
Yes.
votes yes. Thank you, everyone.